Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Welcome back to my spooky season review series. This is episode number 3, and in this video we're talking about Scream. Now, I'm so excited to be talking about this movie. I absolutely love this film, man. I think it's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite slasher films of all time, and for those of you who don't know, this film came out in the mid-90s, directed by Wes Craven, and this film came out at a time when the horror slasher genre was dead, man. I mean, we were getting movies deep into the Halloween franchise, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and nobody gave a fuck, man. Nobody cared what Michael, Jason, and Freddy were doing, man. Nobody cared. Those films were dying. And like I said, the horror slasher genre was dead. Then comes along a little movie called Scream. December of 1996, this film comes out, and it re-injected life into the horror slasher genre. It single-handedly brought back the horror slasher genre. And like I said, I love this movie. And I will just say this, there's going to be a lot of horror movies, a lot of slasher films that I'm going to be talking about in the month of October. But I'm going to make this statement now. Scream, out of all the horror movies that I'm going to be talking about, and any horror movie I've ever seen, Scream single-handedly has the best opening to any slasher film I've ever seen. Hands down, the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie are fucking crazy, man. We get introduced to Ghostface, the killer of the movie. You know, what's your favorite scary movie? We got Drew Barrymore, who everyone thought was the star of the film, because back when this movie was coming out, they didn't tell anybody that she got axed off in the first 10 to 15 minutes. She gets killed right at the beginning of this film, and it's just going to show, like, hey, like, all your expectations, throw them out the window, because we got our own rules we're playing by. And like I said, I absolutely love the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie. It's my favorite opening to any slasher film ever, period. It's done perfectly. It keeps you on the edge of your seat, and I love it, man. It's great. And the only downside to how great that opening is if the rest of the movie doesn't live up to that. But I'm happy to say that the rest of the film does live up to those first 10 to 15 minutes. After the beginning intro of this film, we get introduced to Sidney Prescott, played by Neve Campbell. And in this film, her mother got murdered a year prior to the events that are happening now in the film. And, you know, that's still haunting her. And now there's a new killer on the loose. So everything's getting a little bit crazy in the town of Woodsboro.
Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
I will say about Neve Campbell's Sidney Prescott, she is my favorite final girl of any slasher film, man. And I'm a big fan of the Halloween franchise, Laurie Strode. But for me, Sidney Prescott just has something about her that makes her my favorite final girl, man. She takes no shit, man. She will fight back. She will kick your ass, especially later on in the film franchise, Scream 2, 3, and 4. Some of her line deliveries where and I don't want to talk about those films too heavily because I'm going to be doing separate reviews for those. But Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl, and in this movie, she brings it, man. But my favorite character in this film and the entire Scream franchise is Randy. Randy is my favorite character. He's the movie fan, the movie buff.
If they'd watch Prom Night, they'd save time. There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
He's me, he's you, he's great, man. I absolutely love Randy in this film. He's my favorite character in the entire Scream franchise. And yeah, I just love it, man. But we have performances by Matthew Lillard, who plays Stu.
No, I don't at all.
Skeet Ulrich, who plays Billy Loomis, and all the performances in this movie are done very well, man. Like, everybody does a really good job. And Deputy Dewey, man, like I said, I love Deputy Dewey, man. He's one of my favorite characters in the Scream franchise. He's just really likable. He has a little bit of charm to him. In this film, he's a little bit of a younger deputy. No one really shows him respect. But, you know, he's trying his best, and Deputy Dewey's a fun character, man. Once we get to the last 40 minutes of this movie, man, shit goes down. When they're at the house party, I mean, we get some of the greatest moments of this film. And one thing about this movie is there's never a boring moment for me. This movie constantly has you on edge. It constantly is interesting. There's humor sprinkled throughout because it's a satire, man. It's making fun of the cliches. You know, that's what kept it so fresh and new feeling, you know, like I said, those other horror movies late into the Halloween franchise and Jason and Freddy. This film was poking fun at the cliches. You know what I'm saying? Like the cliches of horror movies that we as the audience have all come to expect. This movie was trying to, you know, like they were making fun of that. You know what I mean? But unlike Scary Movie, that was a straight up parody, this movie was doing it in a very clever way while still maintaining and being a slasher film. And like I said, once we get to the last 40 minutes of this movie, when we're at the house party and shit goes down. And it's a total roller coaster of a ride, man. You don't know who the killer is. You know, Billy Loomis from the beginning looks like, you know, he's the creepy suspect. But then you're feeling like, is it too obvious? And spoiler alert, by the time we get to the end of this movie, you find out that it is Billy Loomis is the killer. And nice little twist, Matthew Lillard's character, Stu, is also his like a little apprentice.
Surprise, Sydney.
Who's helping out with these murders and stuff to throw people off. And it's just like, whoa, like if you've never seen Scream before, by the time we get to the end, it's like, holy shit, like, well, we should have seen that coming, you know, Billy Loomis being the killer. But Stu, he's this wacky, weird character, and he's also the killer, man.
It's a fun game, Sydney. See, we ask you a question, and if you get it wrong, booga! You die.
You get it right, you die.
Well, here's my final thoughts on Scream. It's one of my favorite slasher films of all time. It's the top 5 slasher film for me. And Sidney Prescott is my favorite final girl. And Randy is one of my favorite characters in horror films, period. Like, he's the fucking movie guy, man. He's me, man. Like, I feel like I'd be that guy in the horror movie.
And number 3, never, ever, ever, under any circumstances say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
And let's talk about Wes Craven for a second. Rest in peace to him, man. He was a horror icon director, but you know, this film came out, he directed this film at a time when his career was getting a little washed up. So this was a nice little comeback for Wes Craven. And we're going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and some of his other movies, the other Scream films and stuff like that. But Wes Craven, rest in peace, man. He did one hell of a job with Scream, man. He really did. And like I said, it's top 5 horror movie of all time. It has my favorite final girl. It has one of my favorite characters in a horror film, slasher film, period, that being Randy. And it has my favorite opening to a film ever, to a horror film, that being the first 10 to 15 minutes of Scream are amazing. It's executed perfectly. And, you know, how highly I could speak of this. When I think of negatives, I don't think of much negatives when I'm thinking of Scream. And that's just me being honest. I don't really have anything bad to say. I think this movie is, for what it is, it's perfect, man. It single-handedly re-injected life into a genre that was dead. The slasher genre was dead, and this brought it back, man. And, you know, that's it, man. That's my review of Scream. Stay tuned for Scream 2, 3, and 4, and some other movies I'm going to be doing. Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy vs. Jason, just to name a few, but a whole bunch of others. Halloween. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm saving Halloween for towards the end of the month. When we get closer to actual Halloween, that's when you're going to get my big Michael Myers extravaganza video. Because like I said, Michael Myers is my favorite killer out of all of them. Out of Ghostface, Freddy, Jason, the Creeper. Out of all of them, Michael Myers is my favorite. So he's going to be treated with the special treatment and get his films reviewed closer to Halloween. But no film that I'd rather be talking about right now than Scream, man. Absolutely love this movie. Go check it out. Get into that spooky vibe. Let me know what you think of this shirt. You can pick this shirt up online, actually. That's where I got mine because I couldn't find it anywhere in store, man. I was searching everywhere. I seen it all last year and then I couldn't find it anywhere. But I love this shirt, man. But anyways, guys, go check out Scream. subscribe, and check out some of my other videos. This is episode number 3 of my spooky season reviews. Go check out the first 2 and make sure to stay tuned for my future reviews. Okay? Be safe. Peace.
Face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.